Hey, and welcome back to the channel. I am so excited to be here to share this space with you guys because it's the end of the school year. We made it. This is my end of recap slash my 7 reflections from this homeschooling year. So if you would like to hear more, then let's get started. Hey you, did you hit that play button for the very first time? Well, welcome to the channel. I'm Tasha. This is Tasha Pivots, where we talk about all things mamahood and homeschool and how I'm pivoting through this journey. And man, has it been a journey in 2020, 2021 for homeschool. And so first, I want to congratulate you if you have wrapped up homeschool already or in the process of wrapping up in the next few weeks. Congratulations for making it. Give yourself a pat on the back, mama, because it has been a year. It did not come easy. We have been faced with trauma, challenge, pushback, and all of the above. And, you know, if no one has told you already, girl, you have done an amazing job. And so I have been just sitting. You know, your girl, Tasha, loves to be in reflective states. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I need a breather, I need a break. But no, it's so great because I was thinking about how almost to the year to date, I filmed an episode where I shared 10 reflections in the end of the recap of my first year of homeschooling, which you can check out that video right here in the iCard, or you can check it out in the description after this video. And I loved even resurfacing and going back to that just to see how much I've grown even from there. And I want to keep that tradition. I think even whether it's on this platform, on my website, or even just personally, I always want to have this time of end of year recap to really see, where have I grown? Where have I been challenged? Where have I been pushed? Where are things that I am still needing to really focus on? And so for this time, I actually wrote a whole spoonful of hope blog posts on this entire segment that you can check out after this video, where I elaborate a little bit more on my reflection and each one and how I learned. But I really wanted to share with you guys my 7 reflections. So I wrote them down in my notes on my phone, so you'll see me look at that right here. And I just, these came so they just flowed. I didn't have to ponder for a long period of time, which I didn't want to. I remember when I sat with my journal, I literally just asked the Lord, like, I want to reflect on what has happened in this year. Where have I grown? Where is the things that I see that really challenged me? And then to share that with you guys. And so I am going to share them as best to my ability with you. Number 1 is, when in doubt, simplify. Simplify the schedules, the routines, and the expectations. This is huge because I noticed, even looking at my catalog of videos and episodes with you guys, that is where I would find myself of just like, you know what? Things have gotten too chaotic. I've added too much to our plate in a day, and then I'm defeated, or I feel ashamed, or I'm upset with myself because I didn't meet the expectation that I put on myself to feel that we needed to do a certain amount of things in an allotted time. And, you know, that's just not realistic. And it's setting up myself to fail, but it's also setting up a reflection for my children to view and then try to mirror, and then them feeling defeated too, and keeping that generational thing happening. And I was like, nope, cease and desist. And we are not going to do that. If it's too much, if the day, yes, we could have an outline of what we think we want to do for that day or that week. But you know what? If it doesn't work out, simplify it, shorten it down. If it's only 2 things that I cover this week, those are the 2 things that my kids needed to know and learn and grow then. And so that has been a huge reflection that I've really been pondering with, and then recognizing that that's something that I really want to hone in on as I move forward in this journey. Number 2, independent learning is just as fundamental as dependent and interactive learning. And this is huge when you've got toddlers. This is huge if you've got more than one child homeschooling. And I think even if you just have one, it is so important for your children to know that they are equipped and that they are strong enough to do and grow and learn on their own, independently. I noticed that throughout the year with both my children, like, if they needed me to reassure them that they're correct, or they were waiting for me to kind of help them with their answers, or if I was doing something and they were already finished, they didn't necessarily feel encouraged to just go ahead and move along on something that they know they can do. And just kind of creating that space for them has been huge for this year, that I want my children to always know that, you know, you are equipped, you know what you can do, you know what you're capable of. And if what you don't know you're capable of, challenge yourself. Figure out a different way. Ask yourself the questions, do the things. And so that is huge to me. And that's even to just playtime with toddlers. They need to be encouraged that it's okay if they sit and they play with their blocks. They don't need to be monitored or helicoptered over. It is okay. You are there. You are their support system, and they have that assurance and that safety that you are there, but they are going to be okay by themselves. So that's huge. All right, number 3. And this is a huge one, and I'm going to tread very lightly out of respect for anyone, because I am not necessarily a professional of any kind. But for me, number 3 was parent and child anxiety is real. Stop ignoring it. Pause, pray, and proceed. And I really elaborate a lot of this on the blog, so please check that out after this. But yes, I have anxiety. My oldest daughter struggles a lot with anxiety. And we have just been really praying about it, because yes, scripture speaks on it, and scripture is a living word and it's real. But we also have been utilizing the tools that God has given us, as well as professionals around us, to help with really how do we handle the space in which when we're having anxiety. Do we even need to handle it, honestly? Can we have a space where we just stop, don't proceed just yet? We need to pause. Everything's not in a rush. And so, and I think sometimes that's what causes the anxiety, is feeling like we've got to hurry up. We've got to catch up. We're behind. And that is huge when it comes to homeschooling, because you can feel behind easily. You can think you're falling behind because your child's not reading at the level that you think they need to read at. They're not understanding or being able to articulate themselves in a certain manner. And there's just all these layers. And then it's like, then we want to self-diagnose, and then we want to diagnose our children, and then project what we think our fears are onto them. And so anxiety just builds. That's a whole world of anxiety. And so yeah, I'm just really, that one hits really close to home. And again, I share more detail over on my blog, so please check that out. But yes, stop, pray, because prayer changes things, and prayer is where we can have revelation and transformation. And then proceed means, for me, of like, once I've been given the directive and my children have been able to take that minute, then we can move forward, but we move forward differently. So that's huge. Okay, number 4, fun is a necessity with homeschool. Now, I know for me, naturally, I don't think I'm fun. I know. I'm being honest. I just don't. I think that I naturally am a serious person. I am naturally a deep thinker. I'm an old soul, and I didn't have much of a childhood. And so raising children is where the redemption is. And so I've been really trying to let myself be a kid again with my kids, and allow myself to enjoy playtime with them, allow myself to make believe. Because there's something about, like, when we get to adults and when that veil is removed, it almost makes it just impossible for us to just let our hair down. And so I've been really, really sitting with trying to understand where does that come from for myself. Obviously, there's some healing and trauma and things that I have to deal with personally, but I know that when it comes to the learning environment that I create with my kids, and even in the learning, it's a necessity to be fun. I don't ever want my children to think that education is just mundane and heavy and weighty. There are times where we're going to be challenged. There are times where we're going to be upset and we're not going to understand because we're struggling with this or that or whatever. But overall, I want my children to light up about the idea of education, and the fact that they are just building the knowledge in their brain, and how things are connecting, and just always seeing the spark. And so that is huge. That's a reflection that I feel that we have been doing, especially when we shifted some of the curriculums that we do and we just kept pressing in onto the things that we loved. Fun became a part of the space. And so I think it's a necessity. Number 5, discussion eliminates barriers. Keep creating space for the why questions. Yes, this started really when we changed our Bible time. Instead of it being book work or memory verse time, but it really became us sitting at the table. My husband was able to attend every single day with us, and we would open God's word, we'd read it, and then just have these really philosophical conversations with a 7-year-old. And just her questioning and pushing back and asking the raw questions that I believe that us as believers sometimes get lost in the religious vernacular of speaking about what we believe versus the truth of what we truly believe. And that's a whole nother video. But I'm just saying, like, knocking the barriers down, like always making it a space for your children to ask why. Because if they can ask you why, that means they feel safe. They feel safe to be able to ask. And I see it now, and at first I used to get, I'm going to be really transparent with you guys. I used to find it annoying. I'm like, why do you have to ask? Don't ask me why. Don't ask me. I said what I said. But you know what? God convicted my heart on a whole nother level, and he really just said, no, let her have the why. Let them have their why. Because the more and more that they can always know that this space in which we inhabit, wherever we are, I'm her safe space to know that she can ask me why. And I'm not going to shut her down. I'm not going to turn away. I'm not going to change the subject. I'm not going to say, don't worry about that. Because the thing is that the minute I close the door for my child to ask me why, I open the world to give her viewpoint of why and let them answer it for her. And one of the main reasons I homeschool is to shut that door, or to keep that door closed so that I can be the one to help funnel that. And it's not because I don't think that you can't get resources outside, but it's just fundamentally it's my responsibility, right? So yeah, so huge. And I have just, when I tell you, y'all, when God talks to me, I just feel so disrespected. But I know that it's because I'm dying of my flesh. And so, I personally am like, don't ask me why. And God's like, no, let her say why. And so I am just embracing that to its fullest extent on a new level. And now finding it to be so exciting and so encouraging to be able to share that she cares enough for my opinion. And cares of it now. And if she continues to have that, then there's a respect level in a relationship that happens. Okay. I gotta keep it. That was number 5. Okay, number 6 is being of service to my children is not a die to self resolution. Woo! Okay, so the reason why this YouTube channel is here is honestly, when I tell you guys in my introduction that this is me sharing my journey through homeschool and motherhood, is because I am a multifaceted person. My life really is catapulted. Mostly it is really me being a mom and me raising these beautiful gifts that God gave me. But I also have dreams. I also love relationships and evolving and having conversation. And so when I say this, when I talk about it's not me dying of self is not the answer. Yes, I can be in service to my kids, but I also can be in service to myself. And being in service to myself then can allow me to be in service to my children. And it's not selfish. So what does that look like for me? Brain nourishment. I love my read alouds. I love my journaling. I love learning something new. I've just finally got back to a space where I want to learn. I want to be learning some more. I've learned so much from my kids and just being able to have this environment with them, but now I want to learn in a new way, something new that can expand me. And so brain nourishment is huge. The next thing is community. Lowly Veil Mamas, I love you. And that's important to me. And even other outside groups and communities that I've created with people, I need that. Even in the introvertedness that I can be, I recognize that one, I'm not meant to be here alone. God never intended us to be alone. And so me coming out of my uncomfortableness allows God to bless me in such a new way because I am opening myself up for relationships. And so that's huge. The third one I said was, okay, so it was community and rest. I don't know why. You see, I forgot that one. That's kind of normal because we as mamas don't know what rest looks like half the time. But I am learning it because God said you need to rest, and He has sat me down a couple times this year with my health and just with life in general, with stress, and just reminding me like you need to rest in me spiritually, but then also I need physical rest. I'm an average 5 to 6 hour sleeping person, and I can do well, but I've noticed that the Lord's like, no, that's what you thought you could do well on. I need you to sleep a little bit more. So learning that in this homeschooling space, I still need to rest. All right, guys, and my last and final reflection is number 7 is no is no. And I was laughing when I first wrote this down because it just reminded me of like when we're telling our children that, especially in their like really baby toddler age, and we constantly are telling them no is no. Mommy said no. And I see that even in homeschool, in it both ways. And that was a heavy one for me to take in a little bit too, of like, when I tell my child no is no, then I'm expecting them to honor and respect the fact that I've said no. And that has to go the same way with our children. And that, of course, is a complete unlearning and undoing of my entire childhood, because it was, you do as I say, not as I do, or it's, I said what I said. And so I'm still a work in progress, but I recognize that when my child says no, they don't want to do this, or no, they're not interested, that I then have to honor and respect the fact that they don't want to do it. And yes, you can have conversation and you can discuss, but overall we need to have, we're teaching our children to set good boundaries and not to do people pleasing, and not to, because a lot of that starts with childhood, of you thinking that you've got to please your parent, because if you please your parent, then you're somehow good. And we've had a couple of conversations with my oldest about that, because I think that for a while that's what she started to believe, and then and then me having to reflect on why did she feel that way, and then where have I skipped on this and not seen it. And so in homeschooling, when it comes to certain curriculums, when it comes to certain activities, or it comes to them having to do certain things that they have to practice, you remembering that no is no, and that doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that it's no forever. It just means it's no for now. And respecting and honoring the no. So that is it for my reflections, y'all. There's some heavy ones in there. Again, one more time to plug it in for you. If you'd like to see a more detailed, written out journal entry, check out my Spoonful of Hope post, where I just really kind of dive in deeper and express in each one of those 7 reflections. If you've been reflecting and there's some key things that you've recognized that you noticed from your homeschooling year, put those down in the comments below. I'd love to see them and engage with you there. I love to talk to you guys. You are part of my community. Give this video a warm thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit that red subscribe button if you haven't already, because I'd love to have you a part. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.